having an impact, the price of drugs should be going up, not down.
Police in Central Texas tell KXAN investigators the state's war on drugs at the border isn't slowing down the flow of drugs into your communities.
And right now we're seeing prices going down.
On some drugs.
Our investigation last night uncovered it's cheaper and easier to buy them than before.
It hasn't taken drugs off our street.
Lawmakers' stated goal is to stop drug and human smuggling by adding hundreds of Department of Public Safety troopers to the border.
But now KXAN investigator Brian Collister reveals your tax dollars are not actually helping the state reach that goal.
Yes, you see, this border surge has truly become a border splurge. Over the past decade, lawmakers have given the DPS about $1.6 billion for these operations while cutting the budgets of other state agencies. And now DPS is asking for an additional $1 billion in the upcoming legislative session. Tonight, we travel 300 miles south to the border to reveal that very few of the arrest troopers are making there are the smugglers they were sent to catch.
Highway Patrol, put your hands behind your back.
Hands up!
Let's get a canine to do a search.
Look in the vehicle? Yep. Okay.
Just north of the river bearing the same name, what was once a town rooted in religion and a thriving economy, Rio Grande City now boasts bail bondsmen and legal help to border residents whose every move is being watched closely by an army of state troopers.
Sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's not.
It's not the same place Nellie Mades remembers when she moved her family here 40 years ago.
All my kids are good. They never been in jail.
That all changed one night last year.
They catch him. He couldn't talk, so they called me, to jail. They were gonna lock him up. And I told him, why are you gonna lock him up?
So the reason for your stop, sir, you have your license plate on.
A trooper had pulled over her son Nicholas because his truck had no front license plate.
He was crying.
Nicholas suffered a stroke a few years ago, leaving him unable to speak clearly.
I'm the only one that understands him.
Yeah, only one.
In this dash cam video, the trooper is suspicious.
What's this right here, sir?
Searches and discovers a small bag holding less than 1/3 of a gram of cocaine.
Yeah, put your hand behind your back for me.
He arrests Nicholas on a felony drug charge, what the Texas Department of Public Safety classifies as the apprehension of a high-threat criminal.
I couldn't breathe.
His arrest was added to a massive list of high-threat criminals caught as part of the DPS border surge.
Sustainment of effort, around the clock.
A list DPS uses to justify millions in funding from lawmakers and add even more troopers to this border region. The troopers are every half mile, every mile. You can't go more than 5 minutes without seeing troopers with somebody pulled over. And if DPS gets the additional $1 billion it wants, the number of troopers stationed up and down stretches like Highway 83 will double to 500 to catch even more high-threat criminals. But we discovered troopers don't make very much of those kind of arrests. We analyzed the last 2 years of their arrests and discovered of the more than 32,000 made, just 6% were for felony drug possession and less than 1% were for human smuggling. In fact, the arrest troopers make the most, at 29%, is for drunk driving. Second, misdemeanor drug offenses make up 28%. That means most of what DPS catches are not criminals smuggling drugs into Texas. Instead, they're drug users, like Ruben Escobedo, busted with 1/4 gram of cocaine, or Omar Espinosa, arrested for felony drug possession, but he had only 2 ounces of marijuana. And there's Oscar Lopez, arrested for felony drug possession for a very small amount of cocaine.
Relax. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
None had a criminal history, but DPS labeled all of them as examples of high-threat criminals.
As a state, we haven't accomplished anything.
State Representative Ryan Guillen's district stretches across Starr County and several others along the border. We showed him what we uncovered.
The biggest thing that has been achieved has been stopping DWIs, which is a good thing. It's a good thing.
But is that border security?
it's not border security, and at what cost did we achieve that, you know?
Ask Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, one of the state's biggest proponents of border security.
The people clearly support this.
He toured the border earlier this year for what he called an accountability update on the massive spending he first proposed while running for office.
It wasn't just a campaign promise I was making because it sounded good to get elected. It was real, and those numbers came from me meeting with the colonel over time saying, what do you need?
The majority of arrests are drunk driving and drug users, essentially, misdemeanor drugs.
The purpose of the increased budget on the border was to reduce all crime.
That's not what DPS reported to lawmakers last year, saying the objective was to decrease cartel drug and human smuggling by increasing patrol presence. How does this accomplish that?
They're doing their job.
But even though very few of the arrests have to do with smuggling?
Let me tell you something. If the numbers were really high, you would be saying they're not doing their job. Too much is getting in. I don't really understand the point of your story.
They're making very few arrests related to drug smugglers.
Because people who are smuggling the drugs have left that area. DPS said, if you give us the dollars, we can reduce that crime dramatically in that area. We now have proof that crime is some of the lowest it's ever been.
That's not what numbers from DPS show. While felony drug violations do make up a very small number of troopers' total arrests on the border, the amount of those violations has still gone up by 6% in the past 2 years. And a DPS legislative report in 2015 said, at the time, its effort deters cartel smuggling, but it does not secure the border. And patrol operations are inefficient in the detection and interdiction of all smuggling events. The report also notes the Mexican drug cartels know all of this and have hundreds of scouts to help them avoid detection by law enforcement. Still, the lieutenant governor supports spending even more on more troopers.
I talked to the police chiefs, I've talked to the mayors, I've talked to the local officials. They all say keep the money coming, the crime is down.
But we found some local law enforcement, like Hidalgo County Sheriff Eddie Guerra, have mixed feelings.
DPS has been doing a fantastic job, is holding the line on the illegal drugs. But I'm also a taxpayer, and I know that I can do it a lot cheaper.
So we're going to spend money to put troopers all up and down the border?
We will do whatever it takes to make our border safe.
But your tax dollars are going to more than just sending hundreds of troopers down here to the border to make arrests. Millions more are being spent to prosecute those cases, especially here in Starr and Hidalgo counties. But what no one has ever done before is figured out what happened to those arrests. What happens to those court cases? Well, KXAN has spent weeks digging through court files here in the Valley, and what we've uncovered is that in most felony drug cases, the person that's convicted gets nothing more than a slap on the wrist.
A swarm of state troopers deployed along our border to stop the flow of illegal drugs from Mexican cartels. KXAN has revealed DPS is making very few major drug smuggling busts. Instead, the majority of those they arrest are drunk drivers and drug users. But when troopers do actually catch the smugglers, it's up to district attorneys and judges to decide their fate. Texas taxpayers are paying millions for a border prosecution unit KXAN investigator Brian Collister discovered often does not send the worst of these criminals to prison.
This isn't the first time Rolando Garcia has been caught smuggling a massive amount of marijuana. Hidden inside this boat are 240 pounds of weed. You see, he's already on probation after being busted a year before for the exact same thing. Instead of sending him to prison for up to 20 years for the felony drug offense, the prosecutor convinced the judge to just extend Garcia's probation another 2 years. His crime was in Starr County, where along with Hidalgo County, state troopers make most of their border arrests. We spent weeks digging through 500 felony drug arrests in those counties from the past 2 years to find out what actually happened with drug smugglers like Garcia. Of those court cases that are now closed, we found a quarter only got probation. not sentenced to any time behind bars. 33% were sentenced to just a few weeks in jail, with some probation. Like Mary Louise Garcia, who was stopped for speeding in Hidalgo County. The trooper found 638 pounds of pot, but she wasn't sentenced to a single day in jail, only probation.
We are here to help.
The man whose office prosecuted her, Hidalgo County District Attorney Ricardo Rodriguez. He handles more DPS border arrest cases than any other DA in the state.
We've seen some cases where there are very large amounts of drugs, and these people basically just get a slap on the wrist.
Well, there's some that I won't call a slap on the wrist, that get some kind of probation, heavily conditions placed, and there's some that do go to prison.
Then the DA explained the state has money to arrest and prosecute drug smugglers, but not enough to lock all of them up. That's why he usually doesn't recommend prison for nonviolent offenders.
Obviously, they're drug dealers, but when we see the state moving this way, we're following the trend and trying to do everything we can to be able to avoid, spending those kind of monies in our jails, and having room for those egregious offenses where they're really threatening and harming our community.
The local prosecutors make those decisions. As Lieutenant Governor, I don't make the decisions in the grand jury or to the prosecutor.
Are you happy with them putting so many people on probation and not sending them to prison?
I
smugglers.
want people who commit crimes to go to jail on the appropriate time based on the crime. I'm not going to sit here and analyze every case. Your question is kind of over the top.
To me, this is demonstrating that you're having success.
But from where these lawmakers sit, the border surge is working. Representative Dennis Bonnen and Senator Brian Birdwell co-chair the state's Joint Committee on Border Security. Both were instrumental in swaying the legislature to approve the most recent round of border funding and are now in charge of making sure it's spent effectively.
They are so grateful to what the Texas State Legislature and Governor's done for them.
The heads of DPS and the Border Prosecution Unit were both at this recent hearing, giving lawmakers statistics about the number of arrests and cases they're handling. But they never go into the specifics, like what we've uncovered. And lawmakers never ask for more details.
The information you gave us today is sufficient for me.
Brian Callister with KXN. Can I talk to you for a minute, sir?
We tried several times before this hearing to set up interviews to share our findings.
Senator Burwell, can I talk to you for just a minute?
After the meeting, I tried again, but both lawmakers ignored me and my questions.
Well, we actually been trying to set up an interview with you to show you. What we'd like to do is hold on, that's my microphone.
I don't want being ambushed in halls, sir.
So can we talk to you about how you're spending taxpayer money? You're a public official. You don't want to sit down and talk to the public on camera? They're right there. Can you address those folks?
I am more than happy to receive your report.
We sent him our findings, but he never responded to us.
Can I look in the vehicle? Yep.
Remember high-threat criminal Nicholas Morris? He was arrested on a felony drug charge for less than 1/3 of a gram of cocaine. Prosecutors eventually dropped the charge because he had no criminal record, and Nicholas pled down to just a misdemeanor. Not exactly the drug smuggler that DPS set out to catch.
That's awful.
We requested an interview with DPS Director Steve McCraw, but his office declined. They did send us a statement, though, saying in part, DPS troopers have an obligation to uphold all laws. We are confident that when state leaders and the legislature directed us to implement the ongoing border operation, they did not intend for troopers to ignore other violations of law. Ultimately, the operation's success and need for continued or additional resources for border security will be determined by our state leaders, not the department. You can read the full statement in the investigative section of KXAN.com. And of course, with the legislature meeting in January, they'll be discussing this issue. We'll be monitoring to see how they're going to spend your hard-earned tax dollars on more border security.
And Brian, at the top of the report, we mentioned law enforcement here in Central Texas say they've seen firsthand evidence the state's border surge is not stopping drugs here at home.
Yes, both APD and the DEA here in Austin say the price on many drugs has either gone down or stayed the same. And that means there's actually more drugs readily available.
We know you and our investigative team have been working on this very important report for a long time. Brian, thank you. Online now, Border Splurge, Texas billion-dollar drug war. We break down our team's investigation with interactive features on trooper arrests, state spending, and DPS manpower. Travel with us to the border as the Highway Patrol confronts KXAN.
What station do you work for?
KXAN.
Do you have your ID on you?
Yep.
Plus, we show you the impact drug smugglers are having here at home.
How hard is it to get drugs on the street in Austin?
Easier than waking up in the morning. Easier than buying food.
It's all in the investigative section of KXAN.com right now. And this weekend, we break down the politics behind border security.
At what point does a politician abandon border security as their platform?
Most of the time, people who get elected, they want to get reelected.
They know what a Republican audience wants to hear about in a Republican primary. It's border security and immigration. If you're not talking about it, somebody else will.
Our roundtable of policy experts this Sunday morning on KXAN State of Texas at 8:30.